Okay, thank you for joining us, everybody, tonight. My name is Andrea Jansen. I am the program coordinator at for the financial education program at the University of Montana. Tonight, we are going to really talk about scholarships and get some good knowledge from Wendi Fawns. She works with Valley Oaks Education and Resource Center, and she has a wealth of knowledge on how to navigate looking at scholarships. So we are very privileged to have her joining us tonight, and everybody please take notes because she's got good information for us. So Wendi, thank you for being able to help us. I'm going to pass it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining tonight. I am going to use sort of an unusual screen to display some of the information that I have, just because I've found when I show it fully in a PowerPoint, sometimes it doesn't always transfer over. So you're always going to see the advanced slides over here on the left, but we'll be focusing on the slides here to as we go through the process. So can everybody, if you can't see, let's do it this way. If you can't see in your chat, if there's a problem, communicate that through your chat. And Andrea, then you can let me know if we need to adjust something, but I think this will work well this way. My name is Wendi Fawns, and I work for a nonprofit called Valley Oak Education Resource Center. We are a nonprofit organization in the state of Montana that provides scholarship and financial aid planning to students throughout Montana. We do work a little bit with students out of the state, but mostly in the state. We work with students that are both in high school and in college. Our oldest student got his PhD at 65, and we helped him get a scholarship for that. So no age limits, really. Just trying to help the funding that's out there be utilized. Our services are completely free, and I really want to emphasize that. We operate Monday through Saturday and into the evenings, so that students and parents can navigate this process together. We really see it as a team process and not a single person doing all the work. And we recognize that everybody's got different schedules. So frequently I'll be working with students at 10 o'clock at night, particularly college students, but also students who have sports and different extracurricular activities. So just keep that in mind, that we are available to help students in that navigation of how do I get scholarships, where do I find them, and how can I be most competitive in reaching out for those scholarships. So if there are three things that I want you to take away from this workshop, it is that there is no shortage of funding. There are tons of scholarships each year which are not retrieved. And believe it or not, foundations don't like that. They want their money to be used. And over the last couple of years, we have actually had in the state of Montana, several large scholarships reduced or pulled out of the state because there haven't been enough applications. So I really encourage you to apply for scholarships. Don't see yourself as not qualifying. Secondly, scholarships do take time. That free money that's coming to you does require some time, both in planning to be competitive, but also time in sort of preparing the application packet itself. Each scholarship foundation or organization has their own way of doing things, and there is almost no consistency, or at least that's what we've seen. So it's important to take some time to fill out those applications correctly the first time round, because many of them use a computer system for the first screening, and computers kind of look at things and go, well, if it's not 100% accurate, it's out. And so many times I find students have been screened out inappropriately. Sometimes I can fix that. I am the field director for one of the largest scholarships in the nation, Horatio Alger. And sometimes I can get in there and fix things, but not always. So really important to try and fill things out appropriately the first time. So the one takeaway is the fact that there's no shortage of money. The second takeaway is the fact that it does require some work in planning and preparing and making yourself competitive. And the third takeaway is you have resources all around you. Please ask for assistance. The UM has a lot of staff. Andrea, Julie, there are a lot of different people in the financial aid department, in the academic advising, that really are there to help you. We are there to help you. So you have these resources don't hesitate to reach out and use them. As we go through these slides today, feel free to ask questions. You don't have to wait until the end to ask a question. I always find that when I'm asked to wait, I forget what the question is. So don't hesitate to ask any questions. The goal of tonight is to kind of give you a snippet of some different ways that you can find scholarships, talk about the different types of scholarships, and then give you some tips for how you can apply for these scholarships and how they're beneficial to you. After today, if you would like to have an individual session and sit down either via Zoom or in person and discuss your particular packet of information, how you are particularly qualified for certain scholarships, we can do that. Again, those services are completely free. So our email is shown right here on the screen. You can just email us. You can look at our website. I know some of you have already looked at it. So don't hesitate to use these as resources to connect after this evening. So to start with, I want to talk about what types of scholarships are available. And this is a way that we categorize scholarships. Pretty much every organization that does academic advising and financial aid advising categorizes scholarships slightly differently. So I'm just going to share with you the way we categorize them, but there are many different ways. All of these scholarships and the method in which you receive them or gain them help you build bridges to your future. So even if you never received any scholarships, you would be gaining skills and knowledge going forward into the career field. Even if you never took any 2-year, 4-year certification scholarships, you'd still gain knowledge that would benefit you in the career. And I think that's an important thing to understand when you're doing this time management, because even if someone gives you money, you still have time that you have to manage. So one of the types of scholarships that's available are called traditional scholarships. And those are scholarships that are usually based on merit, like having high GPAs, high SAT and ACT scores, and usually writing an essay of some sort. And that used to be the largest category of scholarships, was these traditional scholarships. You went to your high school counselor or your financial aid department at a college, and they would tell you, you know, do you have a high GPA and high test scores? And here's how you apply for those scholarships. This is actually the smallest number of scholarships now. They still exist, but they're not as many. I don't know, it looks like about half of you might be high school students. So I'm going to show you what that a little bit looks like. This is the National Merit Scholarship. It is based on your SAT or your PSAT score. So I just pulled this up from Wikipedia in terms of the definition of it. And this particular one, you have to have a high SAT score, high grades, and then somewhere down here it mentions, oh, and by the way, you have to have some extracurricular activities and leadership. These are viewed very minimally in the Merit Scholarship Award. It is really this academic record. Now, to go find that, there are some guides that will tell you what to look for. And for example, on here, it's telling you about 1.2 people took the test and qualified, and it breaks it down into semifinalist and then a recommended scholars list. There's a guide. And if you're not confused by now, most people are. You'll notice that the document I'm looking at right now, which is the policies and procedures document for this scholarship, is 53 pages long. Most students and most parents are going to look at this and go, no way am I going to go through that. So our takeaway from looking at some of the traditional scholarships are, again, because they're few and far between, and they have such a high tag on that scholastic ability, which is only part of the piece, we don't spend a lot of time in these traditional scholarships. We jump immediately to the affiliated scholarships. Now, this group of scholarships is relatively new in the sense that they've come about in about the last 10 years, 15 to 10 years. They are the easiest to get in terms of how much work you have to do to acquire them, but they are the hardest to find. And that's because they're still seen as new. So affiliated means you are connected to part of this particular organization. So maybe you're a member of 4-H. Maybe your parents were part of the military. Maybe you belong to a particular credit union or a particular job. So if, for example, your parents work at St. Pat's, they can go into the HR department and say, I would like to go back to school and I want to become a nurse. Do you have tuition reimbursement? And do you have scholarships for dependents? So because you work at St. Pat's, you are a member of that organization and therefore able to tag into these affiliated scholarships. If any of you have parents or grandparents who work for the railroad, BNSF, again, you go into the HR department, they have a form, you put in your employment ID number, you say where your student is going to school, and you get between $1,000 and $4,000 a year scholarship. So we're not talking about an essay, we're not talking about turning in a bunch of transcripts. You do have to prove that you're going to college.
Dad's work does.
Was there a question?
Yes, I think the question was, do you have to prove that you're going to college? Is that correct?
Yes, so you do have to prove, usually on an affiliated scholarship, you have to have some kind of documentation that says, I am either enrolled, which would be your award letter through the university, or the certification program. So these are not only for 4-year programs, they can be 2-year or certifications, or they're tagged under this tuition reimbursement, in which case you actually have to complete the classes and then you get reimbursed for the money, often for books as well. So the affiliated ones are about membership in something, and then you're proving that you're going to go get some education. If it's an employer who's giving you the affiliated scholarship, usually they want your education to be tagged into employment with them. And so one of the questions that's often asked is, well, suppose I get a $4,000 scholarship from St. Pat's, and then after I've completed everything, I quit. Do I have to pay it back? Most affiliated scholarships do not require that you pay them back. And I say most because there could be one out there that I don't know about. So I'm going to say most. I haven't run across any. Unlike the sports affiliated scholarships, where if you go play football and you have a scholarship and then you break your leg, you may get a one-term forgiveness to continue to play in the fall. But after, when that fall comes around, if you decide, I don't think I want to play football anymore and break another leg, they go, well, thank you very much, but we're going to remove your affiliation. So you then can lose the scholarship. But most affiliated scholarships, once you have them and you've used them, they're yours. You don't have to pay them back. Okay. So one of the biggest affiliations that we tend to forget about is high school. Every single student in the state of Montana who is in high school is affiliated with high school. There is a scholarship that amounts to anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 for those high school students only. Once you graduate from high school, it's gone. So we always tell students, don't graduate early. If you end up in the spring and you go, I am done, I just want to be finished with all of this high school stuff, I'm going to leave because I've got all my credits for high school finished. If you do that, you just lost about a $5,000 scholarship. And the name of that scholarship is called dual enrollment. Dual enrollment in the state of Montana allows high school students to take college classes either for free or incredibly low cost. And you can take them at any of the campuses throughout Montana, even some of the private schools, private colleges. We had a student in Victor who wanted to learn about Native American art. And so she took a class at the Salish Kootenai College. And we've had students who wanted to learn about sports medicine. I actually was one of the dummies in the class where she had to video putting my arm in a sling because it was an online class at the University of Montana. It was a sports medical class that she wanted to take. So there are lots and lots of classes to choose from in this affiliated scholarship, this dual enrollment scholarship. The hardest thing again with these is the time you need to spend in deciding what you're going to spend the money on. So if you're doing dual enrollment, if you're taking college classes and you're in high school, which can save you again that tuition, you can get your AA degree before you graduate from high school. And part of that's because colleges graduate in May, high schools graduate in June. So there are students who are getting their AA degree, their 2-year degree, before they graduate from high school, free or almost free in the state of Montana. And you can do that. But you have to think, what classes am I going to take? And that's the hard part. If you're looking at buying a car and your grandparents give you $30,000 to buy a car, and there are only 5 cars to choose from, you go, okay, I can test drive all 5 of those. I can see which ones I like, which ones I don't. But on the other hand, if grandfather gives you $30,000 and says, here are 1,000 cars to choose from, what happens to your heart rate? It starts really pounding, and you start getting anxious because the ability to test drive all 1,000 of those is really challenging. And that's where getting some academic advising and working with organizations like Valley Oak and others really can help you navigate, even if it's somebody else's money. How do you spend your time? How do you look at what classes should I take? Here's another example of that dual enrollment. If you are a student who wants to do marine biology, and in Montana, we don't have a lot of oceans near us. So you want to do marine biology, but you found a wildlife management class and you're in high school, so you're going to take it ahead of time. It's going to be free. One professor does work on elk and deer in the Bitterroot Valley. The other one does research in Costa Rica on turtles. Probably, if you're going to go into marine biology, even though both classes are free, they're both excellent professors, you like the way they're doing the exams, but probably if you want to be a marine biologist, you're going to want to choose the professor who goes to Costa Rica and does his research there on turtles. And by the way, if you choose that professor, he takes students to Costa Rica to do research. So now during the summer, you're getting paid to do this research, tagging it into a class to get credit, and you're not paying for that class. So now you've got all these wraparounds that are helping you manage those scholarship funds. So please don't underplay the affiliated scholarships. Again, dual enrollment is one of the biggest, but membership in 4-H, FFA, electric companies all have scholarships. So if you get electricity, any kind of heat, they all have different scholarships, both for college students and high school students. Very important to look at those. I'm going to show you one now that is only for women. So this is an affiliated scholarship. It's called PEO. And if you look at their website here, you probably don't see anything other than way down here. And there's no link. There's no hyperlink when I cross over scholarship. So the one thing about affiliated scholarships, as I said, is they're hard to find. PEO has 81 chapters in the state of Montana, and every single one of those chapters can nominate a high school student for a scholarship that has nothing to do with income. So it's just, we want to nominate you because you have all these other things, like you have good grades, you've done sports, you've participated in the community. And all of those, you would be looking at this screen going, okay, scholarships, grants, awards, no hyperlinks. So I can't get to anything. They're under projects. So the problem with affiliations is that often the scholarships are made for people who already know how to navigate the system. And that's again why it's important to ask questions. Affiliated scholarships aren't hard to apply for once you find them, but you have to be able to find them and understand how to navigate them. Okay. Another scholarship is Horatio Alger, which I mentioned. This scholarship is actually part of the third type of scholarship, which are these targeted scholarships. So they're looking at a college or a major or a career that you're going into. But Horatio Alger also has the ability to be affiliated, because once you get one scholarship, you become in a smaller pool, you become associated with this organization and therefore can get more scholarships. So if you're looking at, I only have time to do one scholarship, should I do the credit union one, which has a one-time shot, I'm going to get $1,000, $4,000 from it, or Horatio Alger, which might take a little more time, but if I get it, I have an opportunity to get more later on. You might want to do Horatio Alger. Again, looking at your own time management in that discussion of scholarships. Couple of things with Horatio is you'll notice that there are 4 different types. This career in tech is open all the time. So when you look at things like deadline, and people never see the word priority, they just see, oh, it closed, deadline was July 15th, closed. So you kind of have to wear this hat that says foundations who give away money are not website experts, and they don't have time to update them all the time. So you just have to look beyond that and go, would it make sense for them to advertise July 15th when we're now in November? Probably not. And by the way, they still have an apply button out there, so maybe I should try. Just, on a lot of these sites, you just have to try it. You just have to go through and try and apply. But if you look at this, this is a scholarship that's open until the age of 30. I keep pushing it and wanting to get it up to about 50, but right now it's at an age limit of 30. It is for career in tech. So it is for 2-year or certification programs. It's open all year. In the last 5 years, I haven't seen it close. So it's basically a revolving door because they don't have enough applicants. So this would be a way for you to come in and say, I'm not sure what I want to do in college. Maybe I want a career in physical therapy. Maybe I want a career as a plumber. I don't really know, but I do know that I'm going to need some education after high school. So this career in tech might be a way to start that scholarship process. It's relatively simple. And then again, you can go on to other scholarships. If we look at the state scholarship for Horatio Alger, you'll notice there's something unusual here for most people. Juniors in high school. So up until last year, this said seniors. And across the United States, this has been moved to juniors. In Montana, we are awarding 5 state scholarships, 1 national and 5 state. So keep that in mind. We've got 6 there, right? You'll notice that the GPA is 2.0. It's not 4.0. It's not 4.5. It's 2.0. Okay. And this one does require an adjusted gross income of 55. And I'll show you later on a little tip for how you can run a program to check that very quickly for you. But now if we go over here to targeted scholarships, you'll look at the eligibility here and it's saying senior. It still shows that 55 adjusted gross. And you're going to go through and go, remember we were talking about these targeted. So we've got college and majors. So here we've got the Washington Foundation at different places. And if we keep going down, oh, there's Montana. So now we have 50 at 10,000 each. So the ones in here are in addition to the other. So now we have a total of 53 that can be awarded in a year. So there's really a lot of opportunity for students to apply for scholarships in both the targeted and the affiliated scholarship area. One last one I want to show you in this targeted area is equitable excellence. It used to be AXA. And one of the things to keep in mind again is when foundations are giving money, they can set their own stage and say what's required. So look carefully down here on the deadline. So the deadline says December 17th, and people go, okay, done. I know when it is. But next, you have to really look at this, or until the first 10,000. Now I'm going to tell you that when my daughter applied for this, she finished her application, waited a week to submit, and she was 2 applications beyond this 10,000. She was very sad. So don't, when something like this comes up, make sure you're paying attention to that as much as you are the deadline. Horatio Alger, both the targeted and the state and the national ones, when you get close to that week deadline, their systems often crash because of the number of applications. So always check that. Lastly, I want to talk about tiered and youth voice scholarships.
Hey, Wendi,
So
can I jump in? I had a question in the chat that pertains to those targeted Horatio Alger. Can you apply for these scholarships while if you were in college, or are they just for high school students?
no, they're definitely, so on the Horatio ones.
Yep.
So on the Horatio ones, you can apply for the career in tech when you're in college, or not, up to the age of 30. And these others, the targeted, some of them you can, not all of them. The national you cannot. So that one said, that's one that's allocated. I didn't show you that one. The state and the nationals are for high school students. So good question on that. PEO on this one. So most of these are beyond, as a matter of fact, the only one that's high school is the STAR. All the rest are you're in college within 2 years of completion. Gotcha. So good question on that.
Mm-hmm.
So the last two here, tiered and youth voice. What I wanted to show you about youth voice, those are the most fun. They take the most time because you're a student and you're developing some kind of program. And because you've developed the program and tried to solve some problem in your community, you get scholarships for that. So this one down here is showing some students up in Glendive who worked on a project to provide suicide prevention awareness material to the community. And they got some awards for that participation for actually creating the project. And it was a carnival. And they wanted to show people, get outside, take care of your mental health by being in the sun and drawing and using big forms of art. It was really creative. So they're just ideas that you can do in terms of creating projects. This one here, students at the Ravalli County Fairgrounds redesigned the entire bathroom so that it would have Montana heritage on the stalls. And on the inside, they wanted it to be much more friendly for young children. So having smaller toilets that are lower to the ground for them, changing tables, and also for the handicapped. So they completely redesigned the building and all of the stalls and then repainted it. So you can do some pretty creative programming if you want for those youth scholarships. The process that's used for getting scholarships that we recommend is one that allows you to stop and start at any time. And it's really developing a portfolio. And again, we're wearing that anchor of time management. You want to secure funds for your education after high school, but you need to manage your time. So a portfolio is designed to document who you are, your school, your GPA, your degrees, your extracurricular activities, important volunteering, and also what you want to accomplish. What are your goals? What are your careers? What are the degrees you wish to choose? And therefore, where do you want to spend your time looking for scholarships? Again, there's no point in test driving a stick shift Ford, even if grandma or grandpa's giving you the money to buy one, if you're never going to drive it. That doesn't give you, it's not going to help you. So you really want to do these first two things. You want to document who you are, what you've done, so that you can prepare yourself to be competitive when a scholarship comes along. and you want to look at where do you want to go. Those two things can be hard and take time, but only you can do them. We can assist you, and so can people at the UM and in your high school, but it's really a task you have to go through, whether you're an adult or a student in high school. Lastly, in terms of looking at some tips for scholarships. So I talked before about, how do you tell what your adjusted gross income? I don't know whether or not I qualify for Horatio Alger or a Pell Grant or Quest Bridge or any of these other ones. There is this wonderful program called FAFSA Forecaster. It is like the FAFSA, which is a federal program that helps determine your eligibility for federal aid in education. So unfortunately, you have to fill it out every year for every student, and parents are needed in this process. So if you don't get along with your parents, you're going to have some conversations around this one. But this tool, the FAFSA Forecaster, is just an estimator. So it's like a mortgage estimator, and you can plug in things and say, well, suppose my parents earn $100,000 a year and we have 6 kids. Would I get a scholarship from the government? And what's really nice about it is many times students and parents who think they don't qualify suddenly get a yes. And it's like, whoa, I've got some money. I didn't even do anything and I get some money. So this is a really important tool to use. Another thing to look at is, as you're looking at classes, both in high school and in college, think about that portfolio and making yourself more competitive for scholarships. The worst thing to happen is for you to run across some scholarship that you meet all the requirements except one. You haven't taken pre-calc, even though you want to go into engineering. And you've got all these scholarships that are available for engineers, but pre-calc's a requirement for one of those scholarships. So look at courses that will give you one gain plus more. So pre-calc is going to give you that math. It's going to help you become an engineer. But by the way, it's also going to help you meet a requirement for scholarships. You really want to be looking at that as you're choosing your courses in high school and in college. There's a lot of double dipping that can occur that's really a benefit, and it saves time. As a matter of fact, the UM has a particular selection when you're looking at courses, and you can say what courses actually will double dip into your bachelor's or AA degree requirements. So it's really nice to be able to know how to do that. Secondly, look at internships. Internships give you access to scholarships because you're doing an internship within a company. And that company frequently has scholarships. You're now a member, you're doing an internship, you are now a member of that company. You are an affiliate of that company. So you get scholarships through that. But also it helps you with a career, helps you with your degree, and also helps on your application. Horatio, for example, asks, what have you done to prepare yourself for college? This internship piece is a critical piece. If you haven't planned and prepared and can't demonstrate that in your essay, this is going to hurt you in terms of the Horatio Alger. So looking at internships. Multiple scholarship avenues. So this is, again, something to really consider. Where do I look? So all high schools in Montana and throughout the United States have scholarship portals. They're usually in Google Docs or in some tab somewhere, but you don't have to be a school member to get access to those. If you have a friend in California going to some school, or Vermont, you can log on to their high school system and look at those scholarships. Some of them will be applicable to you in Montana. All of your high school counselors in Montana have these portals. So don't overlook that. They really do have lists. All colleges have portals. So again, even if you don't want to go to the University of Montana to go to college, you can still look at their portal for scholarships. And one thing I'll caution you about both the high school and the college portals, if you see something that says the due date is 2016 and it's on a college portal, pretty much it's going to be wrong. Just go one tab lower and you'll see the real application. Again, it's a lot of work to update these websites, and people often just don't have time to do it. So don't 100% believe what you're seeing on the first screen. Third-party sites are available. FastWeb, Scully, Reach Higher has some really good scholarships that they list. There's a little bundle of bag. It looks like a money bag and a dollar sign on it, and you can look for scholarships there. So there are a lot of these third party sites. College Board has them. And when you sign up for college, they will actually start sending you, oh, you might want to apply for the scholarship. The match is not perfect. So even if you say, I want to be an engineer, you're going to get a bunch of other things as well. The lists are usually to some degree accurate, or at one point were accurate. I tend to use a book, a hard copy book that's about 4 inches wide, and I look at it every year. And I'd say about 25% of them are completely advertised wrong. So you just have to look at these third parties as a source, not as the only source to look for scholarships. Probably one of the best resources you have are your local people that you know, your grandparents, your relatives, professors, secretaries are awesome. So if you think about a business, who's at the front end, who's going to get all the information that comes through? The secretary, the receptionist, PTs in Missoula and various local dentists all have scholarships. But if you were to go up and ask the dentist or ask the PT, they would probably say, well, yeah, I think we set one of those up at some point, but I don't really know. If you ask the receptionist, they're going to be able to give you the form or tell you exactly where to look for that scholarship. So don't underestimate this group of administrative support registrar people, because they really can be very helpful. Businesses, I've actually had students who have gone and asked a business if they have scholarships. The business has said no, and the business has opened up scholarships. So look at the businesses around you as avenues for looking at scholarships. And of course, community organizations like Rotary, Kiwanis, Key Club, all of the faith-based organizations, all the churches have scholarships of different kinds. All of those are available. Elks Club, Lions, all of those have scholarships. So this is really kind of a big overview of scholarships. And I want to take just 1 minute, and I'm going to have Andrea, you get to choose the options, and we're going to play Jeopardy. And sort of as a recap, go through a couple of these. So we've got terms, eligibility, types, application, miscellaneous. Andrea, what would you like?
Let's go with eligibility for 100. Let's start there first.
All right. Oh, we'll have to do this way. Okay. What'd you say? Eligibility for 100?
Yes.
Okay. The people whose letter of recommendation may disqualify you for a scholarship. So any of you can enter in the information into the chat. You can help Andrea out.
Lifelines here.
So letters of recommendation are very important on scholarships. They're not regurgitating the fact that you're a 4.0 and you things that are on your resume or on your transcript. It's really, who are you as a person? So who might disqualify you if you used their letter of recommendation?
So we've got some of my lifelines are chiming in here. We've got family, parents, parole officer, or anyone related to you.
I like the parole officer. Actually, the parole officer would be one that would work, because think about it. If your parole officer is willing to vouch for you, that's actually an excellent recommendation. However, if the parole officer is your parent, then no. So parents disqualify you because in theory, parents are always going to say really nice things about your character. And so that's not going to count. So good. All right. What's the next one you'd like?
Oh, let's go terms for 500.
All right. This type of scholarship includes Horatio Alger, PEO International Awards, and gains career points through intentional networking.
So is that like, is it like a meaning targeted, the targeted scholarships, affiliated?
Is that your answer? So you
Yeah.
have to put it in the Jeopardy mode, you know, what is.
Oh, what is, or what is targeted?
Targeted. Okay. What are tiered scholarships? Now, sometimes tiered scholarships are also, and that's what throws off the Horatio. Sometimes tiered scholarships are also targeted. So some of PEO and some of Horatio Alger scholarships are geared toward a particular college or a particular degree. But overall, it's a tiered scholarship because it allows you to come in at one platform, you become a member, and then you can sort of move up and get additional scholarships. Right, good, good. All right, and we'll do one more.
Let's do application process for 500.
Okay, application for 500. Often the most informative and helpful person in a university department. Toward scholarships. I should qualify. Somebody brought that up today. I should qualify them in helping you with scholarships.
My answer would be, what is the financial aid office? But I don't think that's correct.
Well, the only thing is I would say tag into university department, but that might work. Did anybody else have anything else?
Who is another student who needed scholarships last year?
Oh, that's an excellent one. Again, probably not part of a university department, but could be. What is a department secretary? Okay, so the tag there is looking at the university department. Now, financial aid is actually a whole department, so that is a great place to go for financial aid, obviously. But if you're going to go into biology and you go to your biology department, and again, you go to that professor, the professor may or may not know about scholarships, but the secretary probably does. They've probably had to help someone fill out an application, get letters of recommendation, and they know which ones are there. And so that's actually a really good place to look for scholarships. The point here is don't overlook anything, is kind of that process. Any questions from people who are attending?